June 2026. The stage lights have finally come on. Football's biggest stage has opened its curtains across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. This massive tournament, in which 48 nations will compete, is set to captivate millions of viewers. But some questions remain unanswered. Why are certain countries not here? Why will some teams not be taking to the pitch again this year? This isn't merely a matter of luck or lack of ability. Some teams left their dreams behind at the penalty spot, some in extra time, and some under the heavy weight of history. Among these names, you might just find your favorite footballer. This isn't an ordinary list, it's a list of the cruelest, most heart-wrenching goodbyes. We're counting down from 10 to 1. As we approach the end, the country you'll hear about might just bring a tear to your eye. If you're ready, let's begin. 10. In 10th place on our list is a small island that bid a quiet farewell, Northern Ireland. In the qualifying group, they were overshadowed by Germany and Israel, failing to meet expectations every time they took to the pitch and finishing third in the group. In the playoffs, they were drawn against Italy. In the match played in Bergamo, they put up an incredible fight for 90 minutes, turning their defense into a veritable fortress, but it wasn't enough. Tonali's powerful strike and Keane's clinical finish silenced the stands in an instant, leading to a 2-0 defeat. Northern Ireland's last World Cup appearance was in 1986, against West Germany. Exactly 40 years have passed since then, and this wait has been extended once again. Perhaps the stories that cut deepest are the ones least spoken of. 9. In 2022, North Macedonia, having defeated Italy with Alexander Trajkovski's last-minute goal, had etched its name in football history in letters of gold that night. A small country had created a giant miracle and shocked the whole of Europe. By 2026, the same miracle had not been repeated. In the qualifying group, they were crushed under the shadow of giants like Belgium and Wales. Although they managed to reach the playoffs, they suffered a heavy 4-0 defeat at the first hurdle against Denmark, the very same Denmark that will surprise you later on in this list. For North Macedonia, the story ended there. Sometimes miracles happen only once, and that one time is sometimes enough. But whenever Macedonian fans close their eyes, they still see that night in Italy. 8. Imagine a country, a team that had swept Belgium and Ronaldo's Portugal aside at the 2024 European Championship, making a name for itself as Europe's surprise package. That was none other than Slovakia. As they entered 2026, expectations were sky high. But when they faced Kosovo in the playoffs, nothing went to plan. They lost 4-3 in the first leg, against a nation that had only been recognized by FIFA and UEFA a decade earlier and had never even qualified for a World Cup. Milan Skriniar and his generation, striving to carry on Marek Hamšík's legacy, entered that night of elimination quietly and left just as quietly. In the twilight of their careers, they had dreamed of a World Cup, but the dream remained just that. 7. Romania had set out with high hopes. With their young and ambitious squad, they had defeated Ukraine 3-0 in the 2024 European Championship and finished top of their group. Everyone was asking the same question: is this generation bringing Romania back to the top? They faced Turkey in the playoffs. They kept their defensive lines tight throughout the match and never let up in the battle. But in the 53rd minute, Ferdi Kadioglu stepped up and changed the course of the game. That single goal was more than just a score. It was their hope carried by a generation, and that hope turned into disappointment. The match ended 1-0. Sometimes, a single moment is enough to shatter everything. If you were there, how would you have felt in that 53rd minute? 6. Perhaps the most unexpected name on our list, Albania. This small but ambitious nation had begun to make a name for itself on the European stage in recent years. In the 2024 European Championship, they scored the fastest goal in their history against Spain, in just the 23rd second, but they lost the match. A similar scenario played out in 2026. They were drawn against Poland in the playoffs, put up a fight, but lost 2-1 to goals from Robert Lewandowski and Piotr Zielinski. They failed to qualify from the group stage, but this elimination was not the end of Albanian football history, perhaps a harbinger of a new beginning. They came right up to the door. But a guest who cannot enter is often the one who remembers the restaurant's aroma best. 5. The most harrowing story on our list comes from Ukraine. For them, this was not just a matter of football. Since 2022, the country has been under bombardment, the players' families have been in shelters, and some footballers have even been called up to defend their homeland. Without their home grounds, they competed on neutral soil and played every match with that sense of displacement. Yet they still managed to reach the playoffs. They faced Sweden in the playoff match played in Valencia. They put up a long fight but were eventually defeated 3-1 by a physically superior Sweden side led by Viktor Gyökeres, thus bidding farewell to the tournament. Shevchenko's generation had reached the semi-finals in 2006. Those glorious days gave way to the weight of war in 2026. If you really want to feel this, consider this: these players were fighting not for a title, but for the right to take to the pitch. 4. In 2022 in Qatar, Wales qualified for a World Cup for the first time in exactly 64 years. The architect of this was Gareth Bale. For a man who had won countless titles at Real Madrid, his greatest pride was bringing his country onto the world stage. After Bale retired, Wales seemed to lose their way in the void he left behind. They faced Bosnia and Herzegovina in the playoffs. The match in Cardiff ended 1-1, went to penalties, and Wales lost 4-2. This was not merely a tournament qualifier. The era that Bale ushered in has come to an end. Craig Bellamy, meanwhile, tried to build a new generation, but it ended in heartbreak. "I feel a sense of responsibility towards this country," he once said, "but sometimes feeling a sense of responsibility isn't enough." What do you think will change for Wales from now on? 3. Sometimes, a nation's hopes accumulated over a year are condensed into 90 minutes. For Poland, tonight was the night that hope was put to the test. They faced Sweden in the playoff final. The tension of the entire nation seemed to spill onto the pitch. Despite falling behind twice, they managed to equalize, but after the 2-2 draw, a goal from Sweden's young star Viktor Gyökeres changed everything. Poland left the pitch with a 3-2 defeat. This result repeated a familiar pain for Polish football. The squad included Robert Lewandowski, a player who has commanded worldwide respect throughout his career, a man who once scored 41 Bundesliga goals in a single season for Bayern Munich. But this time, individual brilliance was not enough, and this World Cup may well have been their last chance. The silence on the faces of the players as they left the pitch showed that this was not merely a defeat in a single match. Has Poland's dream of a third World Cup been postponed once again with this squad, or has it been shut down entirely? 2. Denmark, who perhaps occupy an undeserved position on our list, finished top of their qualifying group after an outstanding performance. In the first round of the playoffs, they comfortably beat North Macedonia 4-0. In the final, they faced the Czech Republic. The match ended 2-2 after 90 minutes and extra time, and went to penalties. They were unable to replicate the outstanding performance they had shown on the pitch at the penalty spot and were eliminated after losing 3-1. Yet this squad, managed by Kasper Hoemund, was one of the technically strongest teams in the tournament. They had reached the quarter-finals of the 1988 World Cup and the semi-finals of Euro 2020. The elimination of such a strong squad in this manner went down in the records as one of the greatest injustices on our list. 1. And now we come to the top. There is an undisputed number 1 in this ranking, and this entry feels as though it was written years ago. Italy were absent from the 2018 World Cup in Russia. They were absent again in Qatar in 2022. And now, they have failed to qualify for the 2026 USA-Mexico World Cup as well. For the third time in a row, they finished second behind Norway in their qualifying group and dropped into the playoffs. They beat Northern Ireland 2-0 in the first round. Before facing Bosnia and Herzegovina in the final, Moise Kean put them ahead with a goal in the 15th minute, but before the first half ended, Alessandro Bastoni was shown a red card, leaving Italy down to 10 men. Tabakovic equalized in the 79th minute. The match ended 1-1 and went to penalties. Bosnia and Herzegovina eliminated Italy with a 4-1 victory on penalties. After the match, manager Gennaro Gattuso's voice trembled. "It hurts," he said. "The World Cup was so important for us, for our families, for the whole country." He then apologized to everyone. Italy, a 4-time world champion and home to one of Europe's most established football cultures, the country of Pirlo, Totti, Buffon and the heroes of 2006, now holds the record for failing to qualify for the World Cup 3 times in a row. Is this merely a failure, or the end of an era? Can Italian football rebuild itself? If even this squad couldn't manage it, can you imagine the weight on the shoulders of the next generation when they take to the pitch? Extra. Nigeria drew 1-1 with the Democratic Republic of the Congo in the playoff final and lost 4-3 in a penalty shootout. When Victor Osimhen was injured and had to leave the game, the Nigerian fans filling the stands fell suddenly silent. Everyone realized the team's backbone had been broken, and his teammates tried to determine their fate without their star player. International major tournaments have often witnessed small teams rising and big teams falling for such reasons. Despite all this, Nigeria tried to stay in the game, but Calvin Bassey's penalty shot rattling the posts and Moses Simon's unfortunate miss which the goalkeeper caught sealed their elimination. 2 different legs, 2 different shots, but a shared disappointment. This meant Nigeria would miss the World Cup for the second time in a row, a scenario not seen since 1994. In fact, 1994 marked the beginning of a golden age for the Nigerian national team. That year, at the World Cup held in the US, they had defeated their powerful rival Argentina. They had established themselves on the global stage as one of the continent's strongest teams. Although they were later eliminated after losing to Brazil, the world had taken notice of them. To miss the World Cup twice in a row following those successful days is not just a setback but could also be a sign of an identity crisis. And there is another name overshadowed by the list: Russia. Following the 2022 attack on Ukraine, FIFA and UEFA suspended. Following its 2022 invasion of Ukraine, it was banned from all international competitions by FIFA and UEFA, a ban that remains in effect as of 2026. They didn't lose on the field, they never even made it onto the field. This is a rare sight in soccer history, the most striking example of how politics can shape the sport. After FIFA's decision, seeing a Russian jersey in the stadiums became impossible. Perhaps through the 2026 World Cup, we thought soccer was independent of politics, but we learned just how dependent it is, and we've etched that lesson into the dusty pages of history. As we approach the end of the video, we have a question for you. Which one on this list surprised you the most? Which country's elimination do you think was the most unfair? I'm looking forward to your honest comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video so you don't miss the next one. See you in the next video.